Hi guys, this video will cover ACT37 English section. Okay, number 1. I love to snowboard and like most of snowboarders and skiers. I love to be outdoors during winter. However, for this first snow run, mountain doe one time. So in this case, we think about though has two different meanings. One as a however, and the other one as in a conjunction. So how can we figure this out is how many clauses that we have. In this case, the clear cutting of trees. The clear cutting is the subject, right? Runs on mountainside is the verb. And then after though, it says one-time event, devastate, which is another subject and verb. So it has to be the conjunction in this case. So which one that it actually like shows is B as a conjunction. So obviously A and C we can eliminate right away because after conjunction we cannot put comma. But then also though has to separate. Though is a separate idea from the previous clause. That's why you have to put comma here. Okay, number 2. So a one-time event is the subject, and devastate doesn't make sense. It has to be singular, devastate. And number 3, people often drive or in many cases fly to their favorite ski resort. Long distance travel generates CO2 emissions, which in turn compound global warming. I think that's good because they already have subject and verb earlier, so we can just think about how this one modifies the previous sentence, and also in turn is just separate phrase, so we have to just put 2 commas around. But without thinking of in turn, we have to think about which first. In this case, we cannot put case of B because that becomes a run-on sentence and comma splice. And same with the C. If you put in turn, then there's no connection that you can find with the compound global warming. And also if you delete it, that doesn't make sense either. And number 4, network, energy hungry chairlifts to whisk them up. So there's nothing wrong with this one. Because we have 2 dashes, we just ignore this part. So you can think it as extensive networks of energy-hungry chairlifts to whisk them up. So it kind of it makes sense with that, with the purpose of that. And then it says, top of the mountain, often on the other hand, the very snow they relish on the trip back down the mountain has been artificially made using powerful snow. Okay. On the other hand, has same meaning with nonetheless and however. So there is no contrast we can find. So the best way to do it is just delete this part. Number 6, which choice best characterizes the preceding sentence's description of how ski resort slopes often become covered in snow. How? Important thing is how. So arrive doesn't show how, and then manufactured is showing how, and then accumulate doesn't, and everything else doesn't, but G. And then wove, number 7, wove joined. Later part, I strapped my snowboard, but then you said, it says that wove, that doesn't make sense. It has to be I have. Number 8, the writer were to delete the underlined portion, the sentence would primarily lose. Nearby ski resort. So nearby ski resorts, if you delete this part, the problem is you don't compare which ski resort specifically, because it says rather than nearby ski resort or anybody else, like far away or whatever. So it is like specify the specific location of the ski resort, which is close. So it's H. And then it says number 9, but I enjoy the snow climb up the mountain almost. Climb enjoyed, snow enjoyed. So it says present tense. I can get, I enjoyed. That doesn't make sense. And then also, I then step, present tense. So I enjoy. Number 10, like they. After like we don't put clause. So how we can do is as much as, this is the way. For the sake of logic and coherence of this paragraph, sentence 5 should be placed. Sentence 5, I then stepped into, so step into the pair of snowshoes. So it's supposed to talk about something that, whatever way of they putting the gears. So after sentence 1, safety class, making earned your turns. Rather than be the ski resort, I strapped my snowboard and gear on my back. And then I then step into a pair of snowshoes. That makes more sense. So after 2. 12, like me, like me, wildlife avoid. Like me, that's good. After like, you have to have the object, right? So objective is me. Avoid the ski resorts. I spotted tracks made by elk. Avoid the ski resorts. Avoid the ski resorts. Yeah, semicolon means period. So it actually like, it's okay with this one. Other than that, but you need to have comma in front of but. And then C is just comma splice and B is run-on sentence. Number 14, and my reward at the end of snow climb for 2 hours. Okay. At the end of snow climb. So one of the things that we have to think about here is answer choice that we can compare that shows at least 2 hours and 2 hours, 2 hours. Those things are the one that whatever it is on F, G, H, and then J doesn't have 2 hours. So we think about the meaning of importance of for 2 hours. So in this case, my reward at the end of snow climb for 2 hours is important, or just like in the climb itself is, because the main idea that they're talking about is the reward. So that's why the climb itself is okay, because later part is, next sentence it says flying down the mountain though untouched snow. That's like the reward that they're talking about. But this, yeah, mountain through untouched snow. So through untouched, through doesn't need to have commas, so it has to be no comma. It's C. Okay, next one. 16. Given that all the choices are true, which one ends paragraph with the strongest indication that Brian was enthusiastic about art at early age? Enthusiastic about art. Drawing on the wall, floors, and all that stuff is art. Drawing is art. Traveling, no, only art that we can see is F. 17. Some of Brian's most celebrated books retell folk tales from around the world, and then period. And the next clause starts with its subject and verb. So period. Or you can put comma and. 18. Whose stories? Whose in this case. Some of the countries whose stories make. So whose has to be possessive. So in this case, possessive is H. And then 19. Amazing, right? This is colloquial, so we just delete this. It's a conversational language. We don't put it on the writing. In the story of lightning and thunder, Brian, an award winner, shared an award winner. Brian. Already we know that who the Brian is, because the previously like how he was acclaimed as here most celebrated books retell and blah blah blah, and also like very beginning it says Coretta Scott King Book Award already mentioned, so you don't need to repeat again. So we just don't put award winner. So J. Given that all of the choices accurately reflect the story as told by Brian, which one most clearly suggests what it is about the sun that results in the fate of both sheep? Okay. So it has to be story told by most troublemaking. Yeah. Because later, in the beginning it says something about the lightning and thunder, and then later part it says two are ultimately banished by the king. So which means troublemaking. Okay, and then live in the sky after sun's youthful pranks. Word to end. Word to end. Disaster. End disaster. Yeah, because present tense that word to keep. And 23, Brian writes in the introduction, yes, in the introduction. And then 24, and others invites readers. So we have dash here, then we have to have another dash here too. So that invites actually describe about just the work itself. And 25, be it slavery. Be it slavery, yeah. So it just, this part is separate idea, right? So be it slavery, which means if it is slavery, the loss of harvest or misunderstanding between friends, yeah. In case of slavery, 26, that perspective is perhaps most explicitly in evidence to be perceived in his work. In evidence to be perceived. Just explicit itself is good enough. It actually shows that explicitly. Explicit means, and also it has to be explicit, not explicitly, because is after be verb you have to put adverb, adjective, not adverb. So in that sense, we can eliminate FGH, all of them. 27, in his 2007 work, of it is, the name of it is, so why do you have to put the name of it? It's just put it without that, it still makes sense. Work, let it shine. That's it. 28. However, the overwhelming messages in the text and the images are to embrace life, to honor oneself and others, and freely giving to larger world. Freely giving, embrace, honor, honor, to embrace, to honor, to give has to be. So it's a G. And then 29, the writer is divided into two parts. First paragraph, exclusively Ryan's book, combined poetry and illustrations of alphabet. The best place, new paragraph. Okay. Let me see, before 4. Letter of alphabet, the work celebrate this, the heritage of that undergroup case maybe, though his book delved into some subject matter. Now it talks about the subject, but previously it talks about more of alphabet and stuff. So 4 is good. Number 30. Suppose the writer's goal had been to write essay about artists with a long and successful career. Would this essay accomplish that goal? Yeah, it talks about most of career focused artists and states that he's most popular. It's more about the specific books and experience. Okay, so it's G. 31. The American realistic painter Edward Hopper loved light in 1920s. So, and then another Hopper here, subject and verb that we see, so which is comma splice. To prevent comma splice, we have to separate this out. If the writer were to delete the phrase ranging from brilliant afternoon to dusk to sinister nights, placing period after the word light, the paragraph would primarily lose. The detail, it's going to lose the specific detail of what it is. So, the depiction of light, the detail. 33. The figure seems interested in him less than the light in a scene he believed light was the dramatic element. Okay. Scene he believed light was, so it's separate out. This is another one sentence. There's no conjunction between. 34, light coming from a single window creates large rectangles that seem to inhabit the room. Rectangles, which is plural, seem, not seems. 35, light itself takes itself emphatic pronoun, we don't put any comma around, so which is D. From an open door facing the sea, which intense light pour into the room. There's no verb for this one. That's why it has to be without which, because from the open door facing the sea, then intense light is the subject and course is the main verb. So it makes more sense. 37, what choice best reinforced the notion that the light was intense? Pour is intense. Pour is good enough. Pour is into terrible. Okay. 38. The artificial light that shines down on 3 customers and a waiter. 3 customers and a waiter. Artificial light that shines down on 3 customers and a waiter sets off the dark world outside. Because of that, we don't have comma here, then we shouldn't have comma here either. So artificial light is main subject, and set is the main verb. So without any comma, that's okay with a J. Which of the following true statement, if added here, would draw a conclusion most consistent with information presented in this paragraph? Conclusion most consistent with the information presented in this paragraph. The contrast, because it says that natural light and artificial light, that whatever we see, that's the contrast, because it says like artificial light, right? This is like the natural light they're talking about. And 40, another paintings, people sitting, light streaming. I don't see any problem with this one. I don't see any like the transition that you can find here. 41, perhaps the artistic rendering of colored matter on canvas. Perhaps. So this is painting, so just like painting itself is good enough. Painting that best depicts the person, a person experiencing light its morning sun. And then a woman with legs drawn up sits. So a woman is subject and sits, verb with legs drawn up. So it's supposed to be put 2 commas around. So it separates out. At the age of 83, just 2 years before he died, Hopper painted 2 comedians. But it depicts, but 2 comedian depicts. So which depicts? Given that all the choices are true, which one is most consistent with the main focus of the essay? Consistent with the main focus. Hopper couldn't resist showing the clowns, portraying the 2 of them. What is portraying 2 of them? We don't know, so specify. This essay is all about light, so J. Suppose the writer were interested in convey source of Hopper's inspiration. Yes, so source of inspiration is light. So we talked about light itself, which is A. 46. After struggling, doesn't have subject. Who can still struggle is something that we think about. She and her husband. Okay, that's good. But then, why you need to have a comma? That doesn't make sense, right? There's main subject and main verb. We don't put comma between, so that's why it's H. To a farm in Kansas, attempting to regain financial security. In an attempt, financial security. Moved to a farm in Kansas in an attempt to, 15. If the writer were to delete the preceding sentence, the paragraph would primarily lose the statement that. Okay. It talks about and experienced firsthand the difficulties that plagued farmers at that time, such as mortgage. So specific detail that what's going on with so it's like this specific things that farmers at the time, such a high mortgage rate and the railroad inflated fees. That's what that those examples are gonna go on. So that's why it's actually examples involved prompted these to become politically involved. Yeah, it sounds okay. Already mentioned politically here, then like you cannot use politics again. That's a repetitive. And these began or had begun, either or. So nothing else you can put. Began is past tense and begun is participle. 51. Interest rate in confident, straightforward manner. Confident, straightforward manner. So this one shouldn't have any comma. Confident, straightforward manner. Because manner is noun, confident, straightforward is modifies. So same thing, but this is be for audience understand easier. For audiences understand easier doesn't make sense. Easily. Okay, so H. Also past tense as well, because presented is past tense. 53, she denounced big business and bank owners who she believed created. Who she believed created, that makes sense. Because if you take out she believed part out, then who created disadvantages? Which choice most strongly conveys that the language least used to confront her opposition was intense. Intense. Emotionally charged. That's the meaning of intense. Populist Party as both the logical and morally correct choice. It was the critics and supporters. It was that. There's no cause and effect, so doesn't make sense. So same thing with AB, as it was, it's like meaningless. So that's why it's just the like admired her ability. Critics unlike admired her ability. That sounds good. This subject and verb, which is like putting subject and verb. We don't need to put anything else. Which of the following accurate quotation would best conclude the paragraph and create effective transition into the next sentence, obviously. Recite the multiplication table, set a crowd, hooting and harangue at her will. Such positive response. So that is a positive response, so nothing wrong with this one. 58. In the fall of 1890, the populist elected 5 representatives to Congress. The populist. In the fall of 1890, the populist. Nothing wrong with this one either. The populist is the main subject. So yeah. There is no noun, so we cannot put the apostrophes. Given that all the choices are true, which one most effectively concludes the paragraph and the essay by maintaining the essay's focus on power of Lisa's political influence? Power of the ability to garner means together, the supporter, help the party place. That's first person secondary. That's showing the power, political influence. 60. Suppose the writer's goal had been to write an informative essay tracing the evolution of broad changes. Broad changes? No, this is about one person's leases. So, which is H. Okay, move on to next. Quino, checker spot, butterflies, each a red and black flutter, a stained glass ranging. It doesn't have subject, a verb, because Quino, check spot, butterfly is the subject. But then there's no verb, so we have to put the verb as butterflies range, which is B. With temperature rising and the butterflies southernmost habitats. With temperature rising in the butterflies southernmost habitats. So it's F. Rising itself is nothing wrong with this. So it's not the characteristics. Conservation biologist, this person. So no comma on this one. So C. Because job title we don't put comma, and between subject and verb we don't put comma either. On the other hand, those currently living now, currently is now, so we have to choose only one. Currently living. So permison is proposed a way to save quarter-sized butterflies, and that doing so. In doing so, not that doing so. That sounds weird. And the writer considering adding the phrase among some of her colleagues here. Among some colleagues. Yes, it's specified who the person, the people that they're talking about. So, which is F. Given that all the choices are true, which most effectively introduce might be unfamiliar concept to reader. Unfamiliar. Okay, B. That's what assisted migration, definition of that. 68, which choice most clearly emphasized Los Angeles size as barrier to the butterfly's migration. Barrier to the size of Los Angeles lies. Sprawls. That's like the sprawls. It's just like, how it spread and stretch out the size of. Right. Hoping to augment is to add or to support the existing population by moving cocoons from one place to the other population. Just population itself is okay. Why you have to moving cocoons from? Because it says transporting cocoons right here. So this is redundant. Opponents of assisted migration cite opponents, so which is I mean, plural, that's why this is wrong. This is like noun, that doesn't make sense. So it's the H, cite as, so call it as. For the sake of logic and coherence of this paragraph, sentence 2 should be placed. Sentence 2 talks about coupons are portable. So it has to be after whatever description of their moving coupons itself, and then like talks about how good it is. So this is this. Person thought Ado thinks the checker spot is perfect candidate for a system move. She also it should be after 3 because like checker spot is perfect candidate for a system move, and then coupons are portable and blah blah blah. So it's like that checker spot and then coupons, that is connected idea in a way too, if you think about it. And then who believe you had many biologists consider any assist migration theories of people who believe they have, not the people that they're talking about. The temptation to interfere, says critic, is, temptation is, okay, but critics is plural, so say, everything else sounds fine, so see. Their caution frustrates Hermeson. She would leave. If it were not for she would leave, you have to put 2 commas around, or you can separate this out. Otherwise, this is for the sentence. So, on the answer to a second put is H for this one. Such a mindset ignores. She believes such a mindset ignores the fact that, okay, that's also because such a mindset is singular. So ignores. And then like snubs and pay no mind to tunes out. Like same meaning, but then ignores is basic and clear enough. Okay, this is it, and then I'll come back with math section soon. Bye bye.